Hi, this is Tracy from Dandelion Pickin'. Today I'm going to be making a very special gnome. So I have some polyfill, I have some twine, some rice from the Dollar Tree, and that usually makes two gnomes, a old sock that lost its elastic, a little joy sign, two size noses, and I did use the big nose, a rubber band, actually used two rubber bands, but a piece of fabric, a bag to put the rice in, some scissors, and some fur for his beard. And of course, my glue gun. So the first thing I did was get the fuzz out of the sock, the Sherpa, whatever it is. And I saved that to use later. I could use it for the base of another gnome. Then I opened it up so that I could get the rice in the bag. So the reason that I put the rice in the bag is because if the material is not woven tight enough, the rice will fall out. And I usually don't use a bag that doesn't have, I usually don't use a bag that has a zip at the top. I usually just rubber band it, but this was all I had, so I just kind of made it work. So I mess around with the rice until I get it so that it'll fit into my sock. So I got it in the sock and just played around with it to make it sit the right way. Then I took some polyfill and I used the polyfill. I actually stuffed the polyfill a little bit down around the rice just to soften up the gnome. The rice is just to keep him to sit correctly. So I wanted him to look a little bit fluffier. He ended up being a pretty big gnome. You can get that polyfill at Hobby Lobby for $2.99. That's a really good price and it goes a long way. So once I had that in there, I took my rubber band and rubber banded it around there to the top of where the rice was and the polyfill was. So then again, you can see me just kind of trying to get him to sit correctly. So then I cut off the top of the sock. Now the top of the sock, in this case, I'm going to use as his hat instead of using something different because the top of the sock is really cute. So I just glued back that little piece of Sherpa that I had cut so that it stayed when I pulled the sock down. So the significance of this gnome is that this is a joy gnome. So a joy gnome will have a joy hang tag. And so this gnome, you could make it and give it to somebody that needs some joy in their life. And I'll finish explaining the rest of the gnome as we go. So I just pulled up his little hat there and grabbed some twine. And I'm sorry that the picture is a little bit out of the screen. I didn't realize my camera wasn't grabbing that. So I just tied a little bow on him because I am going to go back and untie that and add the joy sign once I know where the hat sits on the gnome. So I had a little piece of buffalo plaid left from the star DIY that I did. So I folded that and then I just took a pen and I drew a half heart on it like you would have done in grade school, where you draw a half heart and then you cut it out and then you have a whole heart. You could use any fabric you have laying around. Whatever you want your heart color to be is perfect. So once I had that little heart cut out, I glued it to the front of the gnome. Just used a little bit of hot glue gun, but you can see I have to go back and tack it down a little bit because my glue dried pretty quickly on that. So once I had it down, it actually looks really cute. That heart looks really cute on that gray sock. So once I had that down, then it was time to put his beard on. So I like to make the beard go back a little bit further. And I also usually won't cut the beard on a gnome until after I have it attached to the top, because I don't really know exactly how far it's going to go. So I wrapped it around just to make sure. And then I just hot glue gunned the top of it to begin with. And, you know, it doesn't matter how far up you go because you're going to pull a hat over and put a nose on. So I just cut a little bit of a triangle down to give me an idea of what he was going to look like. And this gnome, I wanted the beard to hang all the way to the ground and almost puddle a little bit as if it was longer. So now our gnome has a heart. So I glued down the sides because I did bring it around further. And you can do your beard however you want. I know everybody has a little bit different technique that they use to make the beards. So I got that hat back on him and kind of situated it where I thought it would look cute. Then I figured out the nose, and I used the bigger of my half bead noses. If you want to know where the half beads come from, I'll go ahead and put my Amazon link on here. So I tied that little joy to the top. I just untied the bow that I had made earlier and put that little joy sign on there. So now we have our joy gnome that has a heart. So the meaning of this gnome is to make it for somebody that you know needs a little bit of joy in their life right now. And with the heart that is underneath the beard, this will let somebody know that they're loved. So they can look at this gnome and find joy in their life, and they can lift up the beard and know that somebody loves them and somebody's thinking about them, and people don't have to be so alone right now. So at the end of the video is a little note that you can use to send with your Joy Me to somebody you think could need it. So I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday and nobody is alone. Thank you.